If you were to choose between a free OnePlus 12 or an iPhone 15 Pro at 60% discount, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments below. To figure out what my answer to this question is going to be, continue watching this video. OnePlus 12 officially becomes available for markets globally. I mean, we've had this phone for a while from China, so we've had a lot of experience with this device, especially the cameras. The difference between that phone and this phone is the operating system is completely different. So this is running Oxygen OS and that one was on Color OS. So that was a little bit of an issue because I didn't really like the operating system. If you want to go check out our video with that phone, you can click on the top right and we'll have it linked in the description below as well. But let's talk about this device and what I think is the OnePlus 12 in terms of how it's placed today. For starters, I really like this color. It's called the Flowy Emerald, and not only does it have texture and this really nice emerald design on the back panel, which by the way is Gorilla Glass 5. You also have the same pattern inside the camera sort of bump here, and the camera bump also has a little bit of glitter in there to make it more sparkly. I think it looks really nice for the design. You also get a case in the box, which is a plain green case. And although I hate those transparent cases, but one would argue that this design is one that requires a transparent case. OnePlus is also the only company that has refrained from using titanium as a material, which I think would have been a really nice choice for this device, because I feel that OnePlus has made its name in an acceptable premium smartphone market, and somebody who's avoiding buying an iPhone or a Samsung flagship will definitely pick a OnePlus phone. Also, there's a whole OnePlus community of enthusiasts who would want to pick this device. So for them, improved build quality, especially with the titanium frame, which dissipates heat better, would have been great, and I'll tell you why. Another thing that I really like is the display. Now the display is a 6.82-inch AMOLED display. They call it the Pro XDR display, and Apple uses that terminology. But this is the Pro XDR display, and it has overclocked 4500 nits of brightness. At this point, I mean, we're just throwing out numbers, so I could say it has 10,000 nits of brightness. There's really no way for anyone to measure it unless you're in a lab testing it out. Also, 4500 nits on 1 pixel doesn't really matter. You want to talk about HBM, and that HBM brightness is also pretty high at 1600 nits. So it's a very, very bright display, and viewing anything on this, whether you're indoors, outdoors, or even in direct sunlight, is not a problem. You also really enjoy the feel of the phone in the hand because the display is curved and so is the back of the phone, and the frame of the phone is also almost flushed with both sides. So when you're holding the phone, it feels extremely comfortable. It's rounded off. It doesn't pinch your fingers, especially when you hold it like this. So usually your little finger gets pinched by the edges of the phone. This one does not do that because it's rounded on all sides, and it feels really comfortable in the hand. I really like it. The display also has certain other things. You've got Hyper Touch, which was a feature which was previously available on OnePlus phones and it's come back. So that improves touch sensitivity. Again, overclocked from traditional displays. This will be great if you're gaming, and it improves your touch response. If you're professionally gaming, this will come in handy for that. And then you also have a feature called Aqua Touch, which allows you to use the phone when the screen is wet. Again, not a very essential feature for everyday use, but a good feature to have, especially if you're in tropical environments, if you're in an environment where it rains a lot or is humid or whatever, you're using the screen, you don't have to worry about it. If you like to use your phone in the shower for some reason, don't do it because this is IP65 and not IP68, but the display will allow you to use it if your fingers are wet or the screen is wet, which is a nice feature to have, I guess. The display also variably changes between 1 Hz and 120 Hz. So depending on the content that's on the screen, it'll keep switching. And you can also lock it at a 60 Hz if you want, but you can turn on the variable. And because of that, you also get the always on display, which is in the lock screen, and you can customize it like previous OnePlus devices as well. Another feature which is surprising to see is the IR blaster. This is something that was gone from phones nowadays, and you can find it mostly in budget or mid-range phones. To put it in a flagship phone is a really interesting concept, and then that allows you to control things around your house. So your air conditioner, your television, all of those things can be controlled with your phone. So you don't need a smart home hub. You can do it directly from your phone, which is, again, I feel that a good feature to have in your device. Now, one thing that's great but confusing is the performance of this phone. So out of the box, you're getting Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and you get the performance of that, but there is a setting that you guys should be aware of. So what you want to do is you want to go into settings, go into the battery, scroll down, go into more settings, and then you have to turn on high performance mode to get the best out of the device. This was on ColorOS on the Chinese OnePlus 12, and I thought that this was a OS specific feature, but it seems that it's now on mostly every device. So with this, it makes a drastic difference in the performance day to day. What is annoying is that in 2024, phones should be able to automatically do this based on the kind of work you're doing on your phone. So if you're gaming, it should boost your performance. If you're benchmarking, it should boost your performance. And when the phone is idle, it should bring it down to save battery life. But in this device, you have to put it in that high performance mode. And that also is to restrict the amount of heat that is generated on this device. In our case, the heat is there. It gets warm to the touch, but nothing that makes you want to throw away your phone because it's so hot. So that issue hasn't been there so far. So in terms of performance, it works well. Benchmark scores are right up there with the other flagships with the same chip. And you're also getting good touch response from the display and the OS, because Oxygen OS is a lot cleaner, and in comparison to ColorOS, it has basically no bloatware, and it's basically a clean skin of Android with some Oxygen OS features on it, which we really like. So some of the features in Oxygen OS are really useful, and I like them even more because for the past month, I've been using the OnePlus Open, actually for the past couple of months, and I've really enjoyed using this device. So in comparison to that, this feels also equally smooth, if not more. The only thing is that the fingerprint sensor is on the screen versus on the power button, which I think they could have put it in the power button, and I think that should be a more appropriate area to put the fingerprint sensor. But since it works with wet fingers, I don't think that should be an issue. Let's talk about the cameras. The cameras are really good, and this time, I think after many years of working with Hasselblad, OnePlus has managed to come out with a really good product in the OnePlus 12. The cameras are really tuned well. There is no jumping between the cameras that we had previously, where you could notice a considerable shift, especially when you're zooming in and out. The cameras are managed well, and you do have certain shooting modes which are made really well, and the outcome from that is really nice, and the images that come out of that are good. For images, the 50 megapixel sensor is the main sensor with f1.6, and it has optical limit stabilization. But the periscope sensor is also great with optical and electronic image stabilization, so you can zoom in quite a lot without degrading the image quality and get a really good result on the phone itself, which we did test out, and it looks nice. You also have an ultra wide camera, which also works really well and also does macro shots. All of these have been tuned by Hasselblad, and then you also have Hasselblad specific modes in the camera app that work really well. The phone also captures 8K video along with 4K video at 60 frames per second, and then you do have slow-mo with HD. On the front, you do get a 32 megapixel sensor. This does do 4K at 30 frames per second, but not at 60 frames per second, which is sort of annoying because now you're in the flagship territory and you should have at least symmetry. Of course, the front camera is not going to be shooting 8K, but if you're shooting 4K 60 on the rear camera and you want to capture something from the front camera and you don't get 4K 60, then you have different frame rates on a video, and hence you're restricted to capturing on 4K 30. But this is only for people who are capturing a lot of video and not for everyone else. So if this is a non-issue for you, let's move on to something else, should we? Another thing that we really like is the microphone quality. The speakers are also nice and loud. So if you're on a call, you'll get that good experience, whether you're getting it from the earpiece or whether you're watching some content. The speakers are nice and loud, and you do have stereo speakers, and they don't really sound very tinny. They sound very well refined, and OnePlus has done a good job of the speakers.
480 megabit per second data syncing speeds, so you can use it as a data sync cable as well. Go check it out. We'll have it linked in the description.
You also continue to get OnePlus's charging capabilities. Now you call it VOOC charge or Super VOOC charge. So you do get support for 80 watts on the device, but a 100-watt charger is included, which I think is them trying to save some money by using the same charger that they use for other devices. So by giving you a charger with more capability, so if you do have a laptop that charges with up to 100 watts, you can use your charger to charge your laptop and your phone. And it also does 50-watt wireless with OnePlus's charger, which if you do have, it's great, but you can also pick it up. It's inexpensive. If you do like wireless charging, that works on this really well. For connectivity, it works well. We do have a whole bunch of 5G bands. We'll list them out on the screen for you now. And this phone also supports Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, which are the latest standards for connectivity. So you're also covered in that standard. So for the price that this phone is available at, there are a few misses that OnePlus 12 could have addressed, and it hasn't. And I feel that they should be addressed. So IP68 is missing at this price bracket, which I think should be a norm now. And another thing that is a problem for me at least is that high performance, standard performance setting in the battery settings. So for a lot of people who don't know that, they'll never get that high performance, and it should be auto switching instead of you going into the settings and turning it on or switching between the two options. And then finally, the fact that the front camera and the rear camera don't do 4K at 60 frames per second together. Only the rear camera does it, the front camera only does 4K at 30. That I feel is a small, insignificant, but an important vital con of buying a flagship device. Other than that, the phone is really well packaged. It looks amazing as far as the back panel on this flowy emerald color. I'm still in two thoughts about this big round 4-camera design, but it's nicer than most of the other phones that you get in the market. The feel in the hand is really nice and premium, and the performance of the phone as well as the display is good, and the cameras are really well tuned by Hasselblad this time around, so you get really good camera output on this device. Now, if you have any questions, you can go check out our comparison between the OnePlus 12, the Vivo X100 Pro and the Xiaomi 14 Pro, which we've already put on our channel. And like I said, we also did a full in-depth video with the OnePlus 12 previously. Granted, it was on a different operating system. We'll have that linked in the description below as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, almost forgot to tell you. Which one would I pick between a free OnePlus 12 or an iPhone at 60% discount? Well, neither, because I already have both of them.